I think it's a welcome proposition because if you look at the nature of the IPOB crisis in the Southeast, it is political in nature, and so it will require a political solution in the long run, provided that certain conditions are met. And some of these conditions will include resolving the problems at the root of the heightened separatist agitations in the Southeast that IPOB was championing. And again, on this platform and other several platforms, it has been established that what we saw in the last 8 years of the current administration, where the policy of 97 and 5% was made real in the way and manner that the current leadership administered the country in such a way that the people of the Southeast felt so marginalized and felt unwanted in Nigeria, and so wanted to pull out of the union once again. So, in as much as there are plans to dialogue with IPOB and granting Nnamdi Kanu unconditional release in line with the court judgment, the existing court judgment, it's a good development. However, it will be good to do that while also sustaining concerted security effort towards restoring normalcy in that region. So both can go hand in hand. While you are dialoguing with the group with the aim of seeking to find a lasting solution to the problem, it's also good to continue to deploy security measures to protect lives and properties while such dialogue is going on. So I think it's a good development, and I'm sure whoever is listening, whoever is watching, the former vice president making such commitments, it's something to ponder on.
Something to ponder down. Doctor, do you agree with that?
In addition to what he has said, if I can just weigh in on it without sounding as if we are, I think Mojil will agree with me, as if we are campaigning for any presidential candidate. We just look at the issue as it is, objectively and dispassionately. You know, I try to, for each candidate, what I try to do is look at what you say in relation to
what
your
is on ground.
blueprint, to your blueprint, your agenda. And among all the candidates, you can always look at Atiku and his PCC. I will say, I'm not holding forth for anybody, I will say there are those that have been able to remain consistent when it comes to their agenda if they come to office. Atiku has 5-point agenda, which hinges on security, economy, education, restructuring. And within the context of restructuring, talk about fiscal federalism, and you talk about resource control. And when Moji talks about the agitation in the Southeast, for instance, we know that with restructuring through fiscal federalism and resource control, it will bring to an end significantly the agitation in the southeastern part of the country. Because one of the reasons many people in the South, because that has, over time, that has been the agitation of people in the South, and specifically the Southeast, who feel marginalized because they are not in the mainstream of Nigerian politics. So restructuring, devolution of power to the state, whereby we have true federalism that gives power to the federating unit to have a say in the affairs of their region, would significantly, it has been analyzed, it has been debated, reduce the agitation in the South and the southeastern part of the country. And we should never lose fact of a critical part of who can do this. Is it, Jonathan could not do it. He put the proposal out there, you know, through his national conference with the intention of doing it. He couldn't do it. Anybody from the South who attempt to go the full hog to give you fiscal federalism, true federalism, it will be looked at with suspicion in the North.
And bias.
Yes. But a Northerner, somebody in the person of Atiku, if he wins the presidency, has a unique opportunity to do it and to market it.
Without being tagged, being ethnic or trying to help your people.
Yes, I've been tagged anti-North and, you know, or to use other label that will make him to seem as if he's pandering to the whims of the South. It's only a northerner that can do it. Buhari could have done it if he wanted to, but he didn't do it. And of course, on the issue of Nnamdi Kanu, when we talk about Nnamdi Kanu, it's just a symbolism. I see him as a symbolism of the dissatisfaction, you know, the cry of marginalization in the southeastern part of the country. And when you say, okay, this symbol represents what you all are agitating for in the southeastern part of the country, immediately I come out of, if I win the presidency, I will release him. If he does that, it will even be looked at with suspicion.
You know,
in
I'm
the
just
northern part
wondering,
of the country. So he is placed in a unique position to be able to accomplish this in line and in relation to his 5-point agenda, which highlights most of these, you know, most of these contradiction in the Nigerian politics.
And he talked about the Southwest, the Niger Delta, and the Southeast as well, because it would seem like every region has got its own agitation,
yes.
You know, somehow.
In the North, you know, it is the issue of security. And even the concept of a unifier on a rescue mission. You understand? When you now, the message is very clear. The unifier on a rescue mission and his 5-point agenda, it distilled into his 5-point agenda that presents him as a true unifier, you know, on a rescue mission for the nation.
At least that would douse a bit of tension in the southeast, and of course this sit at home that has stifled economic activities in the region. I think any president that is able to achieve an end to that would have done well for the region, really, so to speak.
Honestly, at this point, a political solution is required there because it was a politically motivated crisis. Political in this sense is not partisan politics. Politics of survival of a people within the Union of Nigeria. And let's not pretend about it. The level of exclusion of the Southeast region in the last 8 years, for example, has been unprecedented. And that was why the renewed agitation for a separate state of Biafra was something that was enjoying legitimacy amongst the people of the region. There's nobody you marginalize, the manner in which you have been marginalized that will not have such feelings. You see, the solution to this problem again will be to administer this country with the principles of inclusion, equity, fairness, and justice. If you look at the history of Nigeria, between 1970, when the Civil War ended, and 1979, the southeast people of Nigeria were integrated and rehabilitated to such an extent that a Southeasterner became vice president in 1979. A Southeasterner became the Speaker of the Federal Parliament in 1979. And so there was no IPOB or MASOB between 1979 and 1983 when the Second Republic crumbled. There was no agitation. And throughout the military era, there was a systematic approach towards continuation of the reintegration of Indigo, if you like, in the mainstream of Nigeria's political leadership throughout the military era. And by the advent of the Fourth Republic in 1999, President Olusegun Obasanjo continued the trajectory. Yar'Adua continued it. In fact, there were lots of manifests for the Southeast people in both the Obasanjo administration, the Yar'Adua administration, and the Jonathan administration.
Yes. You have the first Chief of Army Staff.
Chief of IGP of Police, service chiefs, you know, inner members of the presidency. If you look at the face of Obasanjo administration, I mean, it is a mosaic of Nigeria that includes people of Southeast origin and Igbo-speaking people in Nigeria. But this was reversed from 2015. And that reversal was something we called out the government on to say, look, you cannot punish a people for freely exercising their democratic choice of leadership. If a people decided not to vote for you, you cannot punish them after you become president, because whether they vote for you or not, they are Nigerian citizens and they deserve their dues from the government without prejudice to their ethnicity, to their religion, or to their partisan persuasion. But unfortunately, this current administration failed in the basic test of leadership, which is to unite a country, to unify the people as a precondition for national development and national security. That is why you're having the problems you're having today. So If Atiku Abubakar, somebody who has been very consistent throughout his public service life about the need to restructure Nigeria, has demonstrated the capability to rise above ethnicity and religion in the discharge of his responsibility as a political leader, I think he can be trusted to restructure this country in a way that frees up our energies across the board and makes every part of Nigeria prosperous, whether it is in the north or in the south. So I think it's something to ponder. This is a bold statement. He has said it in a voice that is not shaky. I am going to listen Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally.
If a vote.
And like Dr. Mahou said, because he's a northerner, this is quite significant. If this had come from a southeastern candidate, for example, it would be seen through the prism of ethnic solidarity. But this is from a northerner. So it's something to ponder. Similarly, other people have also made some other pledges across the other side. And so it's good as we are going into the election, there seems to be some inclination towards reconciliation, towards national healing. Because after the election, anybody who wins the election must hit the ground running towards reuniting this country, healing our fault lines in order to make progress.
All right, Dr. Mahou, let's look at another story. I don't think the Nigerian pilot thought it important. I don't think they carried it. Other papers really looked at that story. Daybreak did, I think Daily Trust did, and other papers talked about the visit to Buhari to Kano State, where even citizens of, Kano States were lumping stones at his helicopter.